Almonte's Key Food, proudly serving communities throughout Brooklyn, Queens, and Long Island for over 30 years. When you shop Key Food, you'll always find fresh products, great weekly specials, and exceptional personalized service. Visit at any of their Key Food stores at 8235 153rd Avenue, Lindenwood, New York, 935 Rosedale Road, Valley Stream, New York, and 6620 Avenue U, Brooklyn, New York.
This is Full Court Press with Sean Spicer.
Sean Spicer will be getting a new position.
A decorated veteran, a political strategist, and he knows Washington inside and out.
Just like Sean Spicer.
The Spicer era.
Sean Spicer.
The Full Court Press is on the air. Now, here's Sean Spicer.
Good Sunday morning to you. Welcome to Full Court Press. I am your host, Sean Spicer, here on WABC. We got a lot to get through in the next hour. A lot. So buckle up. I'm going to kick your week off in political style. My buddy Joe Concha, he's going to join us. You know Joe. He comes up in just a little bit, but we're going to talk to him before his show about so many cool things in the media. 60 Minutes. You haven't been following this. Scott Pelley. I'm going to save this for Joe Concha, but I'm telling you, I've never seen anyone beg to get fired like Joe Concha. I mean, I already screwed that up. Joe Concha's not asking to get fired. John Catsimatidis, hope he's not listening. Scott Pelley at 60 Minutes is basically begged to get fired, and they did. But I got a bigger question for Joe Concha. Who's next? Who's next? Because keep in mind, Paramount, which is doing this massive, had this massive takeover of CBS, is on the brink of taking over CNN. I'll be interested in who Joe Concha thinks is going to get fired at CNN, because they've already fired some heavy hitters at CBS. I think this is like the trial run. Anyway, we've got a lot to get to because there were some big primaries this weekend. I'm going to break those down for you. And it was a big week in testimony on Capitol Hill, particularly for Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, and Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. I normally spend my time watching these guys take on Margaret Brennan on CBS's Sunday show, but they just put on like a master class. And then, oh my gosh, this Biden book tour. I mean, I don't know if Joe Biden is trying to outdo Kristi Noem for dumb things you can say in a book. You might remember Kristi Noem, the former DHS secretary and governor of South Dakota, wrote in her book about how she shot her own dog, and someone let that stay in there. And then, but Joe Biden, I'll get to this in a second. What is Joe Biden doing? It's like a destruction thing. And then I can't leave you today without talking about Graham Plattner, that Maine. God, I don't even know what to call him anymore. I mean, the guy's got, let's just run it down. Nazi tattoo. He went after Teddy Daniels, the Purple Heart recipient, for wanting him to die. He talked about women wanting to be partly to blame for their own sexual assault. He has a sexting scandal. And anyway, I'll save it because I got a lot more. I mean, this isn't, I wonder, just bear with me. I believe this might be an attempt by Chuck Schumer to take him out, because Janet Mills, the Democratic governor, made it very clear this week. Hey, I just suspended my campaign. I'm not out. I'm still on the ballot. It's almost like, hey, coach, I'm sitting here. Put me in. And I believe, and I'll explain why in just a minute, I believe this was intentional, because they leaked a ton of things from a private meeting with just Democrats. I got to tell you, I believe that Chuck Schumer or Chuck Schumer proxies or Chuck Schumer operatives leaked this out, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. But first, these primary results. I know it's Sunday morning. I don't want to be a negative Nancy, but I'm going to tell you, I'm just going to speak hard truth to this. And by the way, I know last week, a lot of positive feedback on our run through the 9 competitive Senate races. We will keep doing that as the election season heats up so that you will be the most informed people, because as I told you last week, most pundits are stupid. And I walk through all 9 and just show you why Democrats don't have the math to take back the Senate. So anyway, Let me start with, I want to cover the two big states that got a lot of the media attention, California and Iowa. So let me just start. California's governor's race. Steve Hilton, and by the way, how embarrassing is it that California doesn't know how to count votes? I mean, they're still out there. What's the point of election day if it takes 3 weeks to count ballots? It's insane. I don't get this. I mean, I get it. Democrats are basically like, you can send in a ballot whenever you want. The court, by the way, the Supreme Court is taking up this issue of when election day actually starts and ends. It's crazy. The idea that we are like, this isn't 1700. Election day ends. And if you can't get your ballot in by midnight on election day, it doesn't count. I don't understand this, to be honest with you, but I don't want to digress. Let's go back. California governor Steve Hilton kind of prevailed as the number one guy. He got about 30%. Javier Becerra, former California attorney general, former congressman, former HHS secretary under Biden, came in second. California is a top 2 state, meaning doesn't matter what party, you all run together. And by the way, there were 64 people that ran for governor. 64. Tom Steyer came in third. That's worth $200 million. Can you imagine having enough money that you spend $200 million and you only come in third? And the guy's like, oh, all right. I mean, like, I just can't imagine spending $200 and getting that. Anyway, and then Chad Bianco, the Riverside County Sheriff, came in fourth place, just over 10%. But here's where I just want to be clear. And again, I don't need to hear I live in a world of data. And California is a 75% Democratic state. A lot of Republicans and conservatives moved out from COVID, Gavin Newsom, bad businesses, high taxes. So you've reduced the base. You've left most Democrats. I don't want to be the bearer. I don't want to mislead people. I know people, look at all the people that are upset in California. That's great. It's just Republicans are not going to win. And I know some people, oh my God, you can't say that. Blah, blah. Tell me how they're going to win. Explain that to me. There's 52 congressional seats in California. There are countless media markets that are expensive. LA, San Diego, Sacramento. They're big. You have to do a massive get out the vote, an ID project. Steve Hilton doesn't have Tom Steyer money. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm just telling you guys, it's not going to happen. And then Los Angeles Mayor Spencer Pratt, love the stuff that he's putting out. Love it. Love it. The videos are hysterical and he's awesome. And he's appealing to a bunch of white liberal Hollywood elites that don't like the fact that some dude is doing drugs and throwing trash in their front yard. With 75% of LA, over 75% is Democratic. And a lot of them are people of color. This is not a bunch of liberal Hollywood types that are just pissed off that Karen Bass hasn't done her job. Look at the numbers. This ramen woman who came in third with 20-something% of the vote, she makes Bernie Sanders look conservative. She's nuts. She got 22% of the vote. Karen Bass got 35%. So just add that together and Karen, look, let's say that half of those people vote for her. She's suddenly at 45. She's at 46, actually. She's just shy of getting reelected. Unless Spencer Pratt can show how he is going to further reach out to people who are of color, low income, the liberal elites in Hollywood can't win it for you. So, again, get mad at me. It's not going to happen. And look, viral videos, love the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. They're adorable. But that's not a strategy. You have to ID these folks, turn them out, etc. In Iowa, a guy by the name of Zach Lawn won the governor's race. Now, here's the thing. He was running against Congressman Randy Feenstra, who Trump had just endorsed a few days earlier. And some of the media are like, oh, Trump's not perfect anymore. The guy won by less than 1%. And Zach Lawn is very Trump. Trump just endorsed Feenstra, who, frankly, as far as I can tell, all accounts from Iowa, that he didn't run a good campaign. But Zach Lawn is very, very Maha. The Maha PAC put out a statement, Tony Lyons, says Maha PAC congratulates Zach Lawn, the likely future Maha governor of Iowa. Thanks to the courage and leadership of President Trump and Secretary Kennedy, the Maha movement is alive and strong. They're very clear. This guy's a Trump guy, so don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I feel very good about that. And then in the Iowa Senate, Ashley Hinson, the current congresswoman, she raised over $10 million. I told you this last week. She won the Republican primary. And then the less nuts guy on the Democratic side, State Rep Josh Turek, he's the Paralympic athlete who, like the establishment, Chuck Schumer, et cetera, we're all behind the guy. He crushed the really nutty job, Zach Walz. I think this could be a little bit tighter of a race, but Ashley Hinson's going to be just fine. I'm just telling you, I talked about this last week. But anyway, a lot of other stuff going on. It was Dr. Oz's turn, by the way, at the White House podium. We've seen Secretary Scott Bessent. We've seen Marco Rubio. We've seen the VP. And Dr. Oz got it up there. He got asked real quick, is there any advice that you would give for Americans suffering from Trump derangement syndrome? And this is what he said.
The Americans out there that are suffering from a very serious ailment called Trump derangement syndrome.
I am concerned about folks who have focused their entire life energy on dislike of the president. It's disheartening to see people lost in that way, but it's treating stupid is really hard, and then it becomes a real problem. And these folks are off. Now, GLP-1s.
Okay, I mean, I gotta wonder who's next. They're 4 for 4. Doug Burgum on my show, the Sean Spicer Show this week, and I said, "Hey, you're the Interior Secretary. Are you up next?" But it wasn't just Oz at the briefing room. Marco Rubio, and I want to talk more about this with Joe Concha in just a minute. But Marco Rubio started his week in the Senate. He was talking to Senator Jackie Rosen of Nevada, and he just went to town. Take a quick listen to this.
You were at a party with President Trump in Miami instead of accompanying Vice President Vance to Pakistan for negotiations.
What party was I at? I was at a party?
It's publicly reported, and there's photos there.
But what party? No. But you're going to say that. I'm going to answer it. I'm going to answer that question because that's an absurd statement. I was not at a party.
Finish my paragraph. He can answer.
People are going to slander me. I'm going to answer
Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, both of whom were never confirmed by this body to be America's diplomats, accompanied the vice president in the negotiations. Even Iran's foreign minister was not there, yet was there, and you were not. I just feel that's embarrassing for us, and it's embarrassing for you. So, Mr. Secretary, Congress represents the American people. We have the power to confirm who represents America abroad. We confirmed you to be our Secretary of State. We confirmed you to be in the negotiations that are happening. And it's just unthinkable to me that you are missing high-stakes negotiations or that you're not involved. It's sad.
Senator Rosen, your time's up.
So let me
Secretary Rubio.
You're 100% inaccurate and 100% wrong. Here's why. Number one, the Vice President of the United States was there, and he wasn't confirmed by the Senate. He was elected by the American people. Okay? He is the second in line of the presidency of the United States. He was present. Mr. Witkoff is the president's envoy for negotiation for peace deals. Mr. Kushner is a private citizen that serves as an advisor on these functions. They were the team that we sent to Pakistan. I was not at a party. Where I was is next to the president. Because in the midst of those negotiations, I was in communications with them. And in fact, I think there is media reporting from that evening on how on multiple occasions I went into a back room, I came back out and spoke to the president and was constantly updating him. On that evening, I spoke to Mr. Kushner and our negotiating team and Mr. Witkoff on at least 6 occasions, including twice on a secure line from the phone they had access to over there. So you don't know what you're talking about. You're just
Senator Rosen.
All right, look, I'm going to break into this a little bit later with Joe Concha, but Rubio is on fire. So is Scott Bessent. But the other person who had a bad week was Jill Biden in this book tour. I got to play this for you. Now, listen, this is how Jill Biden started the week. She rolled it out on CBS. Now, listen carefully because I want to play this to you back to back. The first thing, she goes on CBS and she talks about how she thought Joe was having a stroke. Take a listen.
Were you horrified as you saw it unfold? I wasn't horrified. I was frightened because I had never, ever seen Joe like that.
With the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden.
Before or since? Never.
Or since?
Yes. Or
You've
since.
never seen him like
Never.
that?
No.
What happened?
I don't know what happened. I mean, as I watched it, I thought, oh my God, he's having a stroke.
Okay.
And it's
okay. Now just stop here. I'm having a stroke. And what does he do? Afterwards, she does this whole little dog and pony show. Oh, Joey, you answered all the questions right. You ate all your vegetables like a big boy. And then they go to the Waffle House. What's missing in that? You just took a guy who thought you had a stroke and brought him to the Waffle House? Really? That's not what I would do. But look at what happened by the end of the week. Take a listen real quick. This is her on The View 4 days later. Listen.
He'd given so much of himself, and to see you even saying, like, I thought he was having a medical episode, I was concerned. Was there any part of you that went into protection mode of like, Joe, you can't keep doing this. Like, they're taking so much from you.
But the doctors told me he was fine. I'm not a doctor. I mean, I am a doctor.
Yes, you are a doctor. Okay, do you see that? By the end of the week, she realized, gosh, I screwed up. So now she's inserted doctors. The doctor said it was okay. The doctor said, no, first of all, I've taken first aid. I have no medical experience whatsoever. If somebody's having a stroke, they don't just go, you're okay. They examine you. You notice this? She keeps changing the story because this was the biggest screw up I've ever seen. I'm going to ask Joe Concha this after the break. We're going to take a break. I'm going to come back with Joe Concha. And then after that, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about the testimony that crushed it on the Hill this week and Graham Plattner. You're listening to Full Court Press. I'm your host, Sean Spicer, here on WABC. We'll be right back.
This is Full Court Press with Sean Spicer on 77 WABC. Listen to this podcast now
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Why is the middle class shrinking? Why are people facing an affordability crisis while marginalized individuals called informals grow in numbers? Join me as I travel the world, speaking with people living in invisibility, the leaders working to solve it, and uncovering the hard truths shaping our economy and daily reality.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform. The Full Court Press is on the air. Now, here's Sean Spicer.
Welcome back. You're listening to Full Court Press. I'm your host, Sean Spicer, here on WABC. I'm excited to finally flip the tables. I've gone on my buddy Joe Concha's show before. Now, being a full-fledged member, I still haven't gotten the hat or the tracksuit from John Catsimatidis, but I feel like I now get to bring... we get a tracksuit, don't we? I thought it was like a velour tracksuit that says WABC on it, but I want to bring in the guy who's coming up after this, Joe Concha. Joe, good Sunday morning. Thanks for joining me finally.
Yeah, payback's a female dog, so I'll go easy on you, Spicer.
Well, we're in your wheelhouse today. I got to tell you, I've watched some of your stuff on this CBS Scott Pelley thing. You've covered the media for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't think you actually need to cover the media. Just you need to cover like having a job to think to yourself, have you ever seen a situation where the employee tells the boss that they're horrible and expects to keep their job the way that Scott Pelley told his new boss at CBS that they were horrible?
Yeah, it made it worse. He said, you're murdering 60 Minutes, and then said, you're not even qualified for this job. And the thing about this was, no one can be an adult anymore. So Pelley was invited by, the guy's name's Nick Bilton. He's the new executive producer of 60 Minutes. And he's done a ton of investigative journalism. Now, has he done it on TV? No, but investigative journalism is investigative journalism, right? So in this case, Bilton reached out to Pelley a few weeks ago and said, hey, why don't we grab dinner and let's talk about the direction of 60 Minutes. And Pelley rejected the invitation, like the pompous, arrogant ass that he is. He wanted to wait for this meeting in front of all of these 60 Minutes employees to undress his new boss. And then I got to watch Jimmy Kimmel last night. I got to hear Brian Stelter. I got to hear all these people defending Pelley. This is indefensible because, to your point, everybody out there listening right now, your next staff meeting, go in and tell the boss that he's murdering the company. And, oh, by the way, he doesn't know what he's doing. He shouldn't even be there. And you see what happens to you. So this almost felt like suicide by cop, right? In other words, where people want to get killed by the cop. I think Pelley in the end wanted to be a martyr so he could join his friends Terry Moran and Chuck Todd and Don Lemon and Jim Acosta and doing a nice little podcast from a kitchen talking about how horrible Trump is. I think that he wanted out, and this is his way to go out with a blaze of glory where everybody paints him as a hero, when really he's been one of the more partisan correspondents you will ever see. I've been watching some clips today and sharing it on social media, and it's just he's Maddow with gray hair. That's basically the conclusion I can come to.
I'm going to get to Maddow in just a second. But here's what I found fascinating. The line from this guy, Nick Bilton, the new EP, he sends a letter that I think you and others have put out, and it says, I meant it earlier, like exactly what you said. I wanted to meet with you. You didn't want to. Yesterday, you hijacked my first meeting with staff to disparage me, my qualifications, and my intentions with remarkable incivility and contempt. Welcome, diverse, blah, 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 blah. But here's the thing that's interesting. Your antipathy to the future of the show has come through loud and clear, and I have heard you. I therefore write on behalf of CBS News to inform you that your employment with CBS is terminated for cause effective immediately. Joe Concha, writing effective for cause is saying you're not getting paid out for your contract. So all these other folks that have been fired have a contract. You get put on a shelf, but you still get paid. They're making it clear to Pelley. This is what I don't get, and maybe it's just because he really is that nuts. You could have gone Nick Bilton and said, hey, Nick, I don't think you're the guy. I've been doing this for 37 years. This isn't my style. Could we find an amicable parting of the ways? And they would have said, you know what, Scott, why don't you work on some projects and go to pasture? And yet he just cut off. I mean, I'm sure that guy makes a few $1 million, right?
Yeah, probably 5-6 million from what I've read.
Yeah, 5-6 million. I don't know about you, Joe Concha, but I'm telling you right now, if I get into a fight with my boss and I have an option of getting paid out for the 5-6 million or getting nothing, I'll take the 5-6 million.
Which tells us, Sean, that maybe he was operating on emotion only and didn't really think this through too well.
Do you think like his wife's like, I don't know, maybe he's married. I assume he's married. Maybe that's, who knows these days.
We have no idea. Probably.
I mean, I think she's got, hey, Scott, what are you doing? We got a beach house that you need to pay for. But here's the thing this is the other line that I want you, this is from Scott Pelley's sanctimonious, arrogant little letter that he sent out. This is the line that got me. When stewardship of the program, that meaning 60 Minutes, passed to my colleagues and me, our responsibility was to expand energetically into a new age of media technology while preserving the values our audience expects. The part of that line that I wanted to concentrate on is when the stewardship of the program passed to my colleagues and me. Well, I didn't know that had happened. Scott Pelley is an employee. Who passed it to him? I didn't know that he got a pass. This isn't like dinner. It's pass the butter. Can you give me the stewardship of 60 Minutes? When did that happen, Joe Concha?
I think he thinks it happened when he witnessed what happened at CNN, Sean, and an MSNBC. I'll give you two quick examples. CNN, Chris Licht comes in, and he has a mission statement to say, okay, you're going to bring CNN back to the center. We're going to have more Republicans on. And what's one of the first things that Licht does? He gives candidate Donald Trump in 2023 a town hall, where he's done town halls on there before. He's the leading candidate for the nomination by a country mile. He's going to rate well. Of course you have him on. It's a no-brainer. And suddenly a mutiny happens at CNN to the point where Trump does the town hall. Anderson Cooper goes on the air the following night and says, I don't blame you. If you never watch this network again, what you saw last night was disturbing. I would have fired him on the spot. I swear to God, you're telling our viewers not to watch? It's a business, dude. And and he got away with it. And then Jake Tapper, Stelter, Oliver Darcy, all these people just completely poured it on with Licht. He was gone a couple of weeks later. So the inmates won. And then MSNBC, same thing. They hire Ronna McDaniel, one Trump supporter, one Trump pro-voice. They don't have any on that network. And then Rachel Maddow goes on the air and says, I wasn't informed about this decision. I hope that management reverses it.
Welker, too, right? Kirsten Welker. She said, no one consulted me, like as if, who said that you got to get a vote here?
Consulted, exactly. Mika and Joe, we will never have her on. You have to reverse this. On the air, they say this. Not even like in a staff meeting. That's worse. And sure enough, Ronna McDaniel was gone within 24 hours, so the inmates won again. So I think Pelley saw that and said, oh, all right, I have the power. Not this new EP, not Barry White.
So you don't think,
they stood up.
I think So I thought he was intentionally kamikazing this. Do you actually think he thought he could win this battle and that they would maybe fire the new EP, or they'd say, "Oh, Scott, you're right. These guys do suck. You're the smart." I mean, I thought he intentionally was driving the truck into the wall. But you're thinking that he thought he might win this battle?
Sean, I go back and forth. I can't come down on a definitive answer. It's either suicide by cop, right, like I said before, or he really thought he would win. He really thought he was that self-important that people tune into 60 Minutes because of Scott friggin' Pelley. I'm sorry. It's like Alabama football, all right? You could replace the correspondents. They come and go, and it's still a top 10 show. It's partly a top 10 show because, hey, for 5 months out of the year, they get an NFL lead in. And yeah, when you have that leftover 30-40 million coming, you're going to have great ratings. So, yeah, I think everybody is not indispensable in this business. There isn't one person. I mean, over at Fox, I'll say Tucker Carlson was seen to be indispensable and, well, gone, right? And he was replaced by Jesse Waters. Now Jesse actually has better ratings than he does. Anybody can be replaced at any time. That we do know.
Except Sean Spicer and Joe Concha on WABC.
Right.
All right, so here's let me start with the first question. Sharon Alfonsi, Cecilia Vega, now Scott Pelley out at CBS. Mm-hmm. I think there's some other names, whether it's Major Garrett or Margaret Brennan, that would probably be on that list. Is there anyone else that you think is out at CBS?
Oh boy. I mean, I think Margaret Brennan's probably at the top of the list because again, she is part of the whole predisposition of anybody who's independent or on the right, especially Trump supporters, will not tune in to Face the Nation because Margaret Brennan has proven herself over and over again to be a partisan hack. Major Garrett, I think, is a little bit more milquetoast, kind of benign. I could see him surviving. Maybe he isn't as expensive to keep around. Nora O'Donnell, maybe, but maybe she plays by the rules, right? But remember that VP debate with J.D. Vance and Tim Walz, where she cut off J.D. Vance's microphone because he was actually fact-checking her fact-check and was getting it right and then shut down the mic. So, yeah, I think they just want to go back to not being painted as partisan. The problem is everybody on the left, especially media reporters, are now saying that it's basically CBS is now, they want to be Fox, so they're going hard to the right. No, I don't see that.
There's no evidence to that. There's no evidence. I mean, Tony DeCopel, the CBS evening guy who's further to the left than Scott Pelley, he went on air. I mean, there's no evidence that any of this has to do with their coverage. In fact, okay. All right. So next question.
Yes.
The next acquisition for Paramount is ultimately Warner Brothers, i.e. CNN. Mm-hmm. Are they on the chopping block? So is it Jake Tapper, Wolf Blitzer, Brian Stelter? Are they back on the chopping block again?
I would think so. I mean, again, I have to know the contracts. Like they are business.
Why? They didn't care about the contract at CBS. Those guys are getting fired and told we'll just put you on the bench and pay you out. Cecilia Vega said in her statement, "I have a contract," and they said you're fired. I mean, soon they're going to pay her out, but she's just not.
Yeah. I'm sorry I cut you off. Cecilia Vega, you remember her from probably your press briefings. I mean,
I do.
She was with ABC at the time and just, again, Mary Bruce, like in another kind of, pantsuit, basically. But, if we were to just take contracts aside, I would think, look, if I'm looking at Tapper and I'm looking at his ratings at 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock, where he's getting beat by our show on Fox, 6 times over, maybe it's time. And by the way, again, I remember Tapper when Biden won in 2020 and he goes on to Twitter and then says, "Bye, Felicia," and tweets it at Kayleigh McEnany. Like, who does that? Like, you're not objective. And
do you think is there any scenario where he ends up back at his former employer and is repping for Hooters again? Because I know they're going through a whole remake. You think he maybe goes back into PR and reps Hooters again? I think that's always.
Well, it's always been my dream job, but Hooters actually, I think, went out of business. I mean,
no, they're going through a whole remake right now. Which maybe they could use his PR skills again. But okay. And then I saw you on Fox the other night talking about Rachel Maddow potentially making the case for Scott Pelley going to MS Now is that just her uttering things or is that real?
That's Rachel Maddow thinks she runs the network. And the reason why is for what we talked about before. She literally got Ronna McDaniel fired because she didn't want a pro-Trump voice on her network. So, yeah, if she declares that on the air, well, that means that, we got to keep Rachel happy. I mean, she does work one night a week for $25 million. Let's make sure. I mean, again, she went
from
5 nights a week to 1. 5 nights a week to 1 and basically kept her salary. These are the stupidest people I can imagine. You cut it by 4/5 if I'm doing my fractions. My kid's doing fractions now. Yeah, 4/5. But they pay her that. So
These
yes,
guys, you know what's funny? These guys, we saw this with Colbert. They have these massively bloated budgets and staffs. I just think they live in an alternative world where they don't have to. Market forces and capitalism doesn't exist in their world. I mean, they're like, I don't care. I lose $15 million. I have 200 people on staff. Like, so what? Like, I get such a kick out of this. All right, let me shift gears, because earlier this week, the White House Correspondents Association announced that the dinner is going to be rescheduled for July 24th at the Waldorf Astoria, which, by the way, happens to be the old Trump Hotel.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, that's the Trump Hotel. Do you think that, like, I don't know why people are going. Like, I don't know. Just in your mind, is this thing legit?
It hasn't been for years, Sean. We know that.
No. But I mean, like, do people go this time? Like, there's always parties and a bunch of Hollywood elites flying. Is that what you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I think that in the end, Woodward and Bernstein kind of introduced this whole aspect of journalism where you get a celebrity aspect to it now, right? So they get the movie with Redford and Dustin Hoffman and all the President's Men, and then suddenly they're on Carson. And now all these journalists, they love nothing more. They don't want Peabodys, and they don't want Emmys, and they don't want Pulitzers. They want an invite to Kimmel and formerly Colbert. They want the celebrity part. So they like getting dressed up. They like the red carpet. They like to feel like celebrities. So, yeah, I think enough will go. But I liked what they were doing this year, at least where they hired Dr. Oz, who I think he's a doctor, but Oz is
No. Oz the mentalist. Dr. Oz is the CMS administrator. Oz the mentalist is the guy who reads people's minds. He's awesome.
Yes.
I love him. I got to see him Yeah.
You did. Has he ever performed for you individually?
I went to a private event with him right before the dinner. The day before the dinner, I went to lunch with him. It's mind-blowing what that guy can do. I actually agree with you. I think that's funny. He's entertaining. That's not like the idea of having some left-wing journalist. Joe, before I will say the other thing that got a lot of attention this week, these guys, we talked about Margaret Brennan going on there and embarrassing her. Marco Rubio and Scott Pelley were on the Hill. Let me play this first clip with you. This is I want to play just a minute of this. This is Marco Rubio with Congresswoman Sarah Jacobs at the Foreign Affairs Committee. Take a listen to this.
Okay.
Why is she leaving? I'm going to answer her questions.
I will.
Oh, she's going. Okay, I got it. Well, thank you for coming.
I mean, look, he over and over again, Joe, he went up there and just had fun with these members. And then here's the kicker. I want to play this one more for you. This is Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. He goes up on the Hill. Ron Wyden, the senator from Oregon, tries to score points. Let me play the exchange with you because I thought this was just Bessent on fire. It was like almost Bessent on Margaret Brennan. Take a listen.
Nobody is interested in the ramblings of a capo in the most corrupt regime in American history. We want to get some facts about this deal. That's what we're here for. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I will ask my questions first today.
And we would like to hear what Adam Wyden and Jeffrey Epstein talked about. Your son's largest investment position was Rick's Cabaret. So did your son and Jeffrey Epstein talk about pole dancing as he begged him for money using your limited credibility?
Oh.
Now, Joe Concha, just in case you didn't know this, because I'm sure you don't.
Yes.
Sure you don't. Rick's Cabaret, through my research, is apparently a gentleman's club.
Oh, I thought it was in, was it Casablanca?
No.
Named after that.
Sorry. It's kind of like that app that Graham Plattner uses that I didn't know about either. I had to use the crack.
Kick, yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, I didn't know what that was, but I've heard through the research. But the point is that here comes Bessent, and Wyden's trying to take him out, like, blah, blah, blah. And then Bessent just comes full loaded like Rubio did. It was a drop the mic moment.
They're prepared, right? Bessent and he's incredibly smart. They know who is going to be questioning him, and they say, "Oh, by the way, let's throw this back at you," which is such an effective tool. And Rubio, I mean, he that was a masterclass. I think, honestly, Sean, if J.D. Vance doesn't run, I don't see how Marco Rubio gets beat because he is unflappable. He has a confidence that he did not have in 2016, and he has a sense of humor and authenticity. You combine those four things, and the guy is also incredibly whip smart, obviously has the resume, and the way he just threw back at these senators and Congress people saying, is this a clown show? Or at one point he said, where's the dunk tank? I mean, it's just funny stuff. And again, he could be serious until he doesn't have to be. He owned those hearings, as did Besson, as did Mark Wayne Mullen, who literally was called a racist by Al Green. And Mark Wayne Mullen's like, wait a minute, I'm Cherokee Indian. What are you talking about? Right? I mean, they look like children, Democrats do. And those three people I just mentioned look like the statesmen and the adults in the room.
It was literally a masterclass. I'm with you on this, by the way. I think that if JD doesn't run, it's Rubio's, and this is the key thing. I think people have to understand. If Rubio, he made it clear in that hearing. Hey, look, I'm the Secretary of State. I don't engage in political activity, so I can't do anything now. But Vance, I actually love what Trump's been saying. I think if they were a ticket, it would be unstoppable. I mean, Vance Rubio, I think is unstoppable.
I do. I just think that Rubio would be more unstoppable. Of course, JD is not going to take the second position, but I look at Vance and, as somebody who has young children, Ushas has a baby on the way. It's number 4. He's only 41 years old. He could still take a position in a Rubio administration, some high-ranking one like Secretary of State, and then still stay on the radar. And maybe in 10 years when his kids are older and he got to experience all those things that you don't get back, then he still has like a 30-year runway when you compare it to the last two presidents that we had. So maybe he sits this one out, or maybe he realizes that Rubio would be not as polarizing a candidate as JD. For whatever reason, I compared this Marco Rubio to on Bill Helmer and Jackie Heinrich's show today. I said, you know what? Rubio is like Floyd Mayweather Jr., 50-0, right? Never lost, and not because he had punching power, because you couldn't touch him. You couldn't lay a hand on him, a glove. That's Rubio. You can't lay a hand on this guy.
Yeah, it's true. I just get more and more impressed. He is, as you said, he's funny. He's knowledgeable. He can pivot. I love it. And I agree with your assessment. I think if JD says, hey, I got a fourth kid coming, I'm 41, 42 years old. Let me kind of let a cycle or two go by. I'll still have my star power. I mean, I don't know. If he wants to run, it's his. If he doesn't, that makes sense too. He's got plenty of time. Joe Concha, I thank you for being with us. We got this warmed up for you to be here in just a little bit. I got one more little block after this break, and then it's yours. Thank you guys for being here. I'm going to come back and talk about Graham Plattner in just a second. You're listening to Full Court Press. I'm your host, Sean Spicer, here on WABC. We'll be right back.
This is Full Court Press with Sean Spicer on 77 WABC. Welcome to your personal briefing. The Full Court Press is on the air. Now, here's Sean Spicer.
All right, welcome back. Good Sunday morning. You're listening to Full Court Press. I'm your host, Sean Spicer, here on WABC. I want to give you a little insight into this Graham Plattner issue. I talked about this last week. He came to Capitol Hill this week, and there was a bit of news that didn't get as much attention because of the why. And let me kind of explain this to you. So Plattner, as I said at the beginning, and I'll explain now. Plattner gets the latest scandal, comes out that he's been sexting with this on this app. Now, I asked about this on my show. I had Tim Rice from the Daily Wire on. I go, it's an app called Kik, and it's Kik. Don't look it up, because apparently I still don't understand it, to be completely honest. I don't think I want to. But it's an app where you, I guess, anonymously can have, I don't know. I don't, it really doesn't matter. I don't know that I want to know. But it's an app where you can have interactions with people of a sexual nature, I guess. And anyway, so Plattner's been on this, and he's been sexting with multiple individuals. In the campaign, at first it was reported like 10 or 12, and they're like, no, it's only 6. Oh, okay, it's only 6. So he comes down to Washington, and a couple things happen, and I just kind of walk you through the timeline. So he meets with a bunch of these senators at they have a committee. Each side has a committee. The Republicans have the Republican National Senatorial Committee, National Republican Senatorial, the NRSC. And the Democrats have the DSCC, the Democrat Senatorial Campaign Committee. So he goes over there and he meets with a bunch of them. In the room is Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren in particular, who both have endorsed him and are close to him. Obviously, they're both New Englanders. So in the room, Warren and Sanders both press him. Is there anything else that you want to share? Now, first of all, you guys all know, if you had something to tell somebody, would you do it in a big room with a bunch of people there? Oh, yeah, by the way, just got to tell you, there's a lot more coming out on me. I got some bad stuff, and boy, did I do. No. But all of this got leaked out to the Wall Street Journal. And just keep paying attention. This is why I'm explaining this. It's a private meeting. Senators only, maybe a couple of senior aides. And it all kind of gets leaked out. Who wants this leaked out? Just stop. Remember, there's only so many people in that room. Chuck Schumer endorsed Janet Mills. Chuck Schumer got mocked when she dropped out. Janet Mills is making it very clear that she's still on the ballot. That's why when you hear candidates say, I'm suspending my campaign, it's a very legal nuance that's important to understand in politics. Because they still have to keep their campaign committee open to pay bills and to do other business. So you suspend the campaign. But even this past week, Eric Swalwell was on the ballot in California, even though he dropped out weeks ago. Janet Mills is on the primary ballot, and she let people in Maine know this week, I'm still on the ballot. I say all this because when you start connecting the dots, I feel like it's an episode of NCIS, right? Who was in the room? Who benefited from leaking this about Plattner's visit? Well, to me, the obvious beneficiary is the guy who endorsed Janet Mills and knows that I can't probably win with Plattner. That's Chuck Schumer. He got asked about Plattner. Let me play this for you.
On Graham Plattner, are you satisfied with the explanations he's given for the controversies his campaign has faced right now? Are you concerned by what we've heard?
I met with Graham Plattner today. We're going to beat Susan Collins and take back the Senate.
Yes. So you're saying that Janet Mills, your preferred candidate, there's been rattlings that she should get back in. You're standing behind Graham Plattner, to be clear here?
We're going to beat Susan Collins and take back the Senate.
Yes.
Yes.
Does Democrats taking behind Graham Plattner, does that hurt the credibility in attacking Ken Paxton?
We're going to beat Susan Collins and take back the Senate. Any other subject you got? Any other subject? Yes, you right there.
Do you believe that Janet Mills should unsuspend her campaign?
We're going to beat Susan Collins and take back the Senate. Last one.
You have not said if you're still endorsing Graham Plattner. Are you still supporting Graham Plattner?
As I said, I endorsed Graham Plattner. We're going to beat Susan Collins and take back the Senate. Thank you.
That might have been the most Washington thing I've ever heard. Talk about, like, I expect the cock to crow after Chuck Schumer denied Plattner 4 times. That was the most weaselly thing, very Schumer-esque. But I say this because he didn't deny it, did he? We're going to beat Susan Collins. We're going to beat Susan Collins and take back the Senate. I don't care how flawed this guy is. And Schumer, by the way, reminder, is Jewish. You would think if you're Jewish, you might not want a candidate that's got a Nazi tattoo. Just maybe. Maybe also that has disparaged veterans. Said that Teddy Daniels, the Purple Heart recipient. By the way, I had Teddy Daniels on my show this week. I didn't realize this. These guys have never met. They never have met each other at all. He didn't know who Teddy Daniels, literally, Graham Plattner just watched a video and said that guy deserves to die. He said Chris Kyle, remember American Sniper? He deserves to die. For what? Going and fighting for his country, taking shrapnel to his body? Who says that about somebody? They deserve to die. I didn't know that. He's never met Teddy Daniels. He's never met Chris Kyle. Chris Kyle is dead, by the way. He has kids. He has a wife, Tanya. Who says I want someone to die, especially somebody who's off fighting for the country? I cannot. This guy is a sick, twisted dude. And he's also a phony. He's a phony. I mean, like, he's literally a phony. And I'm just telling you, I'm going to predict this right now. Remember this. I believe Janet Mills is back in the race. I believe that Janet Mills will unsuspend her campaign. And I'm going to tell you why in just a second, but just mark that down. I'm the one who, by the way, go back. It's on video on my morning show called The Huddle. I predicted that Janet Mills would drop out in the first place because it was embarrassing that she was getting crushed by a fake oyster farmer. Oh, fake oyster farmer, you say, Sean. What do you mean by that? You know the narrative the media likes to tell you, Graham Plattner, oyster farmer. Do you realize that the oysters that he, quote, farms are just for his mommy's restaurant? I mean, literally, the bulk of his money is from his VA disability. The only money he makes is when he goes out and shucks oysters for his mommy. And, speaking of the VA, he had said, I got a VA loan for my business, and that's how. Nope, he lied about that too. That's from his daddy. This guy is so full of crap. He is so phony. It is unbelievable. But here's the thing that I want you to get. So he goes to Washington, D.C. He meets with these senators, and then he scurries up back to Maine. He had a bunch of events that he canceled, and he claimed the reason for doing so was because the media was at his mommy's restaurant. Now, that seems weird, right? You have to go all the way back to Maine and bail on a bunch of fundraisers because there's press at your mommy's restaurant. The word that I'm getting is that it's much bigger than that. They were dealing with the potential fallout of another scandal. Now, let me go back for a minute, and this is where this gets good, as if it wasn't good enough. They were asked point blank, as I said, between Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren in this meeting to Plattner, is there anything else? Now, let me tell you what he said. There are no credible allegations of sexual assault. Did you catch the first word? There are no credible allegations of sexual assault. Who says that unless there are allegations of sexual assault coming out? He knows it. He's just going to use that as a weasel word to say, that's not credible. But what is the hill that Democrats are willing to die on? Was it being a Nazi? And remember, again, he acts like somehow I was drunk and I got a Nazi tattoo, like it happened Friday. 18 years until it was pointed out after he launched his campaign, he didn't care. He got up every single day, looked at himself in the mirror, put his shirt on, took his shirt off at the end of the, walked around, did a bunch of videos. Remember, he's got all these ones where he's running around half naked, singing karaoke or something. You don't think anyone pointed out, hey, Graham, why do you have a Nazi tattoo? He's so full of crap. I'm just telling you, this is something that, you don't see that often. But he said any credible allegations of assault were forthcoming. I mean, this is going to happen. Mark my word, there's going to be more. That's why I'm telling you, I believe that Janet Mills is going to get back in the race because at some point they're going to say, hey, dude, sorry, way too much. Anyway, I want to make sure I keep giving you guys updates on redistricting as well because that's the Senate. Let me tell you a little bit about the House. In Alabama, I predict this. It is on my Twitter feed. I put it out that how it was going to play out in Alabama, and I was 100% spot on. The Supreme Court has cleared the way for Alabama to use congressional maps for the midterms that give them a one-seat advantage. They tried for 2. They're going to get 1. and then they'll go back next cycle and get 2. By the way, every one of you guys in New York, I'm just telling you, it's coming back your way. You remember, for all the Democrats who like to say, oh, Republicans started this. Not true. Most of you are well aware of the fact that these guys tried it. It was the New York Supreme Court last cycle that said, no, you can't do this. They tried to take out Nicole Malliotakis and some others. And now they're going to go back and try it again. The Democrats in New York have introduced a redistricting measures that would add 4 House seats to the delegation after they tried to do it earlier this year. Now, they're trying to do it the right way, I think, this year, or next year, which is to use a constitutional amendment that would undo this mid-decade redistricting that they are currently blocked from. And then, again, they would do what the phonies in Virginia and California are doing and saying, oh, well, then an independent redistricting commission would then do it for future. I mean, we all know that that's just not happening. It's just crazy. I want to tell you one more thing that I think is interesting this month. This is normally Pride Month. And it was interesting because I didn't have it thrown in my face, the name, the way that it's been in the past. I don't know about you, but there's been a lot of large companies that are citing economic and political pressure for reducing or eliminating sponsorship at Pride events. And it's fascinating. You look at MasterCard. They were a former platinum sponsor of New York City Pride, not renewing that corporate sponsorship. PepsiCo dropped out of New York City Pride. Nissan withdrew from New York City Pride. Citi scaled back from New York Pride. PricewaterhouseCoopers scaled back. Comcast withdrew from San Francisco's Pride. I think that's probably the biggest Pride month. I found it interesting. And again, look, the thing that I find so funny about this whole issue is, why do we need a month to celebrate sexuality? We don't do any. I mean, to me, of all the things that we celebrate, what else gets a month? And why do we celebrate that? We don't do this for other people who served the country. We don't serve all of these people who've died for this country. One day, Memorial Day. And we do this. I still don't understand it and why it needs to be. Someone wants to celebrate whatever. God bless you. Under the First Amendment, you do what you want. I'm not really entirely sure why we need to have this happen. Anyway, it's just been fascinating to see the overall pullback on the left. And I wonder if it's just now or, if this is going to continue a trend even after Trump leaves office. All right, that does it for us. Our good friend Joe Conte is just with us. He's up. I appreciate you guys tuning in on a Sunday morning to kick off your week with us. We've got a great show all week long. If you want to catch me on the Sean Spicer Show every night on my YouTube channel, 6 p.m. We do the huddle every morning at 8:30 live on that show as well. Thanks for being with us. We will see you back here next week on Full Court Press. I'm your host, Sean Spicer, on WABC.
On the biggest stage in the world, FanDuel's changing the game because sometimes your player gets subbed off and your bet goes with them. Not anymore. With FanDuel's Super Sub, if your player's subbed out, your bet stays in. That's right. If your player leaves the match, your bet continues on with the substitute. So you're still in it until the final whistle. Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.
21 plus select states for Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. 18 plus DCKYWY. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. 888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org/chat. Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Maryland. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org. Call 800-327-5050. Massachusetts. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Text HOPE-NY in New York. Call 877-770-7867. Louisiana.
Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.